We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. Our guest with us this morning is Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney, taking some of the phone calls. We've got a few more coming in.
Good.
And let's go next to Richard. Richard, good morning. Hi, Richard.
How you doing?
Good. What can we do for you, buddy?
I just got a question here. I don't know which way to go. I got a 20-year-old son. He had asthma all his life, ever since he was about 4, and it usually he have asthma attack. I take him to the hospital in a couple of days. You know, shoot him with steroids and breathing treatments. He all right. This time, I took him to the hospital, and I kind of felt like it was doing a little too much this time, but I didn't know what to do. So I did find, for him to put a ventilator down it. And this time, they put the ventilator in him. This first time we ever had that done. And they knocked a hole in his esophagus. And now, I'm from Jackson, by the way, Jackson, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And now he's had a major surgery. They had to send him to Vanderbilt to have a major operation on his esophagus and fix it. And now he can't talk. He just laying there trying to heal from that operation. And I just wanted to know, could the doctors be accountable for that?
Yeah, Richard, let me ask you some questions. How long ago did this happen? When he had the ventilator put down and the hole was caused, when did that happen?
Well, this happened back in November 24th. He's been in the hospital ever since November.
And was he in the hospital in Jackson? Is that where this happened?
Yes, sir.
Was it Jackson General is what we call it, the big hospital there? Is that where this happened?
That's exactly right.
Okay, and he's in Vanderbilt recovering right now? Yes. Well, he's been in there a long time, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm. That's been a long time, yeah.
What's his prognosis, do you know?
It's a name for that, what happened there, where they knocked a hole in his esophagus, and he told me the name. True. But I can't remember the name of it. But
that's okay. It may be a little early to decide, because that is a life-threatening condition by definition. When there's a hole created in the esophagus and air gets into there's just terrible things that can happen. Your son's lucky to be alive. Do me a favor, Richard. I want you to call my office. The phone number is 615-8000000. That's 615-800-0000. And when you call, ask to speak to Michelle. Michelle is the paralegal at my office that does all of the malpractice intakes. She will get background information from you that she can transmit to me. I'd like to evaluate this case and see whether you may have a medical malpractice case. When someone,
I sure will.
Yeah, when someone inserts a ventilator, what that means is if it tore a hole in the esophagus, my guess is they put it down the wrong tube. There's two tubes you can put it down. Mm-hmm. One goes in the lungs, one goes to the stomach. And it sounds like it went into the wrong area, which led to this injury. So if you will call her and give her that background information, I will get back to you as soon as possible, Richard.
It doesn't cost you anything to make the call, free. Richard, at all.
It's all free.
They'll get more details and evaluate. And you did the right thing. The thing where I'm on the edge of my seat, Richard, whenever anyone calls with a case that sounds like it might be legitimate, and I certainly think you might have a case here, is when did it happen? And It's good, we say this time and again, there's a 1-year statute of limitations. Had this happened, say, last January 1st, it would have been too late for you. But by calling, since it just happened last November, you've got plenty of time. So good job on your part.
Yes.
Okay, and I thank y'all very much.
I'll be in touch, Richard.
Yeah, and Richard, if you missed the number, obviously it's easy to remember. We're going to put it up again at the end of the show, but give his office a call, and Clint's great. Yeah, so that's interesting. Have you ever heard of a case like that where a hole's punched in an esophagus?
Not a hole in the esophagus, but I've heard of them passing a tube where they try to intubate, what they're doing, into the esophagus, and because of that, air is deprived from the lungs, and sometimes the patient dies, sometimes the patient gets brain damage. But what it sounds like here is when they were trying to intubate Richard's son, it sounds like the tube, rather than going into the trachea and down into the lungs, went down into the esophagus, went behind the windpipe, if you will, got into the esophagus and got in pretty hard too.
Well, somehow, maybe that tube's not made. It punched a hole in it.
Right, esophagus is, a 20-year-old esophageal tube, that's a thick, that took some force. Okay. I mean, the esophagus, Nick, is a muscle. That's what, when you swallow, that muscle takes that food down to your stomach. You know,
it's not like just tearing skin.
No, no. And a 20-year-old esophagus, that's a strong esophagus. That took a lot of force to do that.
Well, let me know how that plays out. That's real interesting.
That is what you would consider to be the prototypical medical malpractice case. The deviation of standard care would be the failure to properly monitor where the endotracheal tube is inserted. That caused a major medical injury, which is a esophageal perforation, which by definition is a life-threatening condition. It requires major surgery. Huge medical expenses. The patient may have permanent impairment. They definitely have a giant scar where they had to open the patient up.
Yep.
Prototypical malpractice case.
When you asked him prognosis. I think he thought you meant diagnosis, but I know what you're saying. Prognosis for recovery, because part of any case includes what kind of damage is done and what you can sue for beyond this. Meaning, does he recover fully? Is he always going to have an issue talking? Will it affect his breathing? Things like that.
Truth is, Nick, it's probably too early to tell.
Oh yeah, and it may be, but I know why you were asking.
Yeah.
So let's see.
But you're right about that November thing. When he said November, I was
yeah.
Glad he didn't wait too long.
Yeah, well, like you said, he's been in the hospital a long time. All right, let's go next to Christy. Christy, good morning. Hi, Christy. Are you there, Christy?
Oh, yes, I am.
Hey, how are you? You go ahead, ma'am.
That was my husband, Rick, that called you earlier.
Okay.
He sounded a little shaky and everything, and his intention was not to say that doctors are, bad or anything. This was just the route that he decided to take in his treatment.
Listen, fine.
Not only, the things he's done that have worked versus what they would have done, it has worked for us. But also, what started a lot of this stuff for him was we also went to a dentist in Bowling Green, and he had his teeth extracted. But it's been almost 2 years now. And so I'm sure our statute of limitations is well past at this point. But what they did, I think when she had so much trouble pulling his teeth, and when she went back and pulled the last wisdom tooth.
Yeah.
I think it was actually a root that went back into his periodontal duct.
Yeah.
And now he's having so much trouble with drainage and his mouth not healing.
I'm so sorry. Listen, and since that's more than 2 years old, but you've heard of that before. I had to have wisdom teeth, and one of mine had to have special care because the root went up, maybe like his. It went into the sinus area or something. What is that duct she was talking about?
I think what she's talking about is that the nerve popped back in and it got infected. It would be my guess.
Poor guy.
Look, Christy, let me tell you what I want you to do, though. Will you call my office and speak to Michelle? It's 615-8000000. I want you to tell her more about what happened with this dental procedure. I'm real sorry about what happened to Rick. It sounds like Rick's doing whatever he can, and it's terrible to be stage 4. I just want to make sure I hadn't missed anything. I know you said 2 years. Just make sure you let Michelle know, when did you discover that you thought there was wrongdoing? Just let her know.
And that's part of it. It's the discovery, not necessarily when it happened. And again, whatever works for someone, fine. But yeah, Christy, thanks for calling. We'll put that number up at the end of the show again, as we mentioned, and give him a call. And maybe there's something they can do to help. Yeah. Let's go real quick to Bruce. Hi, Bruce. You've just got about 30, 40 seconds.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I've just got a question.
Sure.
I had a procedure done dental back in September. My plate didn't fit right, so they was going to do a reline on my top dentures. When they put it in, within 30 seconds, my mouth started smoking. The girl run in and realized something was wrong. They never got my plate back out of my mouth, and my top mouth burned. I mean, it took hide, meat, everything. The top of my mouth burnt for 16 days.
Whoa!
I was going through different mouthwashes the pharmacy was giving me. My dentist was calling different stuff in, and then I found out at the end of everything, he's still turning all this into my insurance. I've called several lawyers, but nobody wants to touch it because nobody has ever heard of this.
Okay. Hang on that since we're up against it. I assume you would like him to call your office as well.
Yeah, just call. I don't I don't know if I'm going to take the case. I don't take many dental cases.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of reasons for that. We don't have enough time to talk about it, but it's certainly, I want people to call. I may not take the case, but I will write back to you, Bruce, if I don't, and tell you why I don't take it.
Yeah, it's just interesting. For what he described there, it sounds, they put some device in there that heated up and burned his mouth.
Yeah, it's not whether I've heard of it or not, it's whether what's Bruce's damages going forward.
Exactly, and how bad that is. So, Bruce, listen, we'll put the number up. Give a call. It never hurts. As you said, you can shop it around.
It's free.
And it's a free call, and Clint's terrific about getting back to you. Clint, you are awesome. Thank you. It's an interesting
way to start
show.
the new year, isn't it? Everybody kind of picked up the pace towards the end.
We picked it up there, and you do let me know about that other case with that gentleman.
Sure
I'd like to hear it. We'll see you again in a month. How about that?
That's
all right?
absolutely good.
It's good
All
to
right,
see
thank you.
We'll take a break. Be back with a programming note right after this. Everyone, stay with us.